could have continued, right? So we have our antagonist, and our protagonist. We have this big meeting between them, and what we want to do is keep heightening the tension and understand what the plot is going to be. Because once chapter 1 is over, we really want to just kick into high gear and get things going. So we remember what the scene is. We've got these two in the restaurant, and they're kind of going back and forth. And they're, you've got the 18th captain of the Yakuza, and she is saying to our protagonist, Mr. Sharp, basically, I have a job for you, right? I've called you here because I have a job for you. And our guy, Mr. Sharp, he hasn't said anything yet. He hasn't said whether he's going to accept the job. He doesn't even know what the job is yet. But we've had this sort of 18th captain of the Yakuza. She likes to talk. She talks only in parables, talking about subtext. All of that stuff is there. So guys, do go back and for all those just joining us, do just go back and watch the videos that have come before, see how we've built up these scenes, because we can't keep going back and repeating everything. So okay, we got this great future scene, right? This was a job well done, I think, a combined effort from everyone on the chat, and we have in the future our guy. He's going to meet the sister of the 18th captain of the Yakuza. He's going to meet the sister, and the sister is the person who he's been hired to essentially take down, and they're going to have this great meeting. They're going to have another meal. He's going to eat with the sister now, and he is going to be essentially loving life. He thinks everything is going well. It looks like the plan is working. It looks like what Kyori Matsumoto has said to him is going to come true. He's going to get all of the things that he wants, and then boom, the sister is going to serve him rabbit. Right? She's just going to plonk it on rabbit, and all the subtext we were talking about in the last stream, that's going to come out. And she's just going to basically say to him, nope, you've been caught. Your whole plan is now in the toilet, in the soup, so to speak. That's our midpoint. So we already have a scene way out in the future that we know we're going to write. That's going to be a really fun scene to write. So today we're going to carry on with... we're just going to finish off this meeting between them. And over the weekend, I've done a little bit of research, as I said I would, and I want to keep the focus around the meal. So let's just read this little bit, and just to put us back in the frame of mind of what's going on, and then I'll show you where I think this scene needs to go, and we can all discuss and get some comments and stuff in the chat. So if that sounds good, guys, here we go. We have our guy coming into the restaurant to meet the 18th captain of the Yakuza. All right. So he walks into the restaurant, and this is what happens. The place was empty except for one table in the middle of the room. The woman sitting at it looked up at me as I entered. She was young and good-looking with those long black lashes and sticky red lips. I should have run straight out of there. But two bruisers in cheap black suits stepped up behind me and blocked the entrance. The woman checked her watch and smiled her red lips. She motioned to the seat opposite her, and it really wasn't a question. I glanced at the fire door in the far right of the room. I might not have been as big as the bruisers behind me, but I was sure as hell faster. I thought about the homeless guy slumped against the dumpster. No doubt these two would trip over him if they tried to chase me. But I wanted answers, so I joined the woman at a table. There is a story we tell children, she said, speaking in Japanese like she knew I could understand her, about a troublesome tanuki who plagued an honest farmer for days on end. One day, the farmer laid a trap and caught the tanuki. Do not untie it, he told his wife, before I come back from the market tonight. But the farmer's wife was a kindly woman, and the tanuki's hopeless crying soon got to her. She took pity on the little creature, but no sooner did she untie it, did the tanuki kill her. Neo the Heathen, thank you for following. Appreciate that. Really nice to have you here. Please do comment on how you think things need to turn out. So back to the story, right? Do not untie it, he told his wife, before I come back from the market tonight. But the farmer's wife was a kindly woman, and the tanuki's hopeless crying soon got to her. She took pity on the little creature, but no sooner did she untie it did the tanuki kill her, chop her into pieces, and make a soup out of her. The tanuki then shape-shifted into the form of the farmer's wife, and when the farmer came home, the tanuki fed him the soup. The woman snapped her fingers, and from the kitchen came a waiter who put 2 bowls of steaming soup in front of us. The woman smiled at me. "Go ahead," she said. I glanced at the fire door again. "That's a children's story," I said, but my feet were dancing under the table. The woman ate a spoon of soup and licked her red lips. "My name is Kyori Matsumoto. Yakuza Captain 18 and she who lays head of the clan Matsumoto, and she who lays claim to the 4th Ward Shinjuku of the great city Tokyo." Now, I just love that bit, right? I just love that bit. "Oliver Sharp," I said, spooning my own soup. "Troublesome tanuki." I couldn't tell whether that quip got to her because she had about the best poker face I'd ever seen. A flawless complexion like a perfect porcelain doll. She sat tall and upright, all her movements precise, as if choreographed well in advance. I couldn't help watching her red lips glide over her soup spoon. "The puzzle box," she said eventually. I took it out of my pocket and put it on the table, but I said nothing. I wanted her to do all the talking. "The first puzzle boxes were made long ago in Hakone," said Kyori Matsumoto. "A safeguard for personal jewelry and keeping children's fingers from sewing needles. But as their complexity grew, the samurai and ancient warlords began using them to pass their secret messages. I received a similar puzzle box upon my ascendancy to Yakuza Captain." Love this, right? Just such rich stuff coming through. "Yeah, I didn't realize the Japanese mob was so liberal," I said. Again, for anyone just tuning in who isn't familiar with the story, our protagonist, he's got a problem with women. He just does. So deal with it, because he's going to have to. Kyori Matsumoto fixed me with a look. It was a dangerous game to play, but I'd be damned if I let some woman keep the upper hand. I'd already come running here like a dog, but I could be a Rottweiler when I wanted to. "It took me 5 weeks to solve that box," she said, and in the corner of my eye I saw one of her bodyguards pull out a gun. "You, Mr. Sharp, will have until I finish my soup." I snorted. "Yeah, nice try, love," I thought, but I wasn't about to play her game, and nor did I have to. Her bodyguard wasn't going to shoot me while I was sitting so close to her. So I picked up my spoon and slurped my soup. Now that there is a very sort of a Jack Reacher line, right? We were talking about that. The internal thought processes of your characters tell you a lot about their skills. So he doesn't need to tell us that he is, comfortable and knows how to handle himself in a situation. He just says, "This is the problem," and we see it through his eyes, and we understand, "Oh, this guy's dangerous. This guy knows how to handle himself in a shootout." Okay. The bodyguard snarled at me to show some respect, but the 18th captain of the Yakuza refused to be ruffled. I still had a clear path to the fire door, so I decided to test that cool exterior with a bit of shock treatment. I waited until she was down to her last spoonful and then snapped up my own spoon and smashed it down on the puzzle box, shattering the damn thing and busting open its contents. "Solved," I said. Kyori Matsumoto didn't flinch. In fact, I got the impression that it'd take a bomb going off before she might yawn. She glanced at the broken puzzle box, dabbed her lips with her napkin, and turned to her bodyguard. "Tell them to serve the fish." Right? That subtext, just, you've passed the test, all right? You got into the puzzle box, tell them to serve the fish, and the conversation continues. The waiter served the next course, which I recognized instantly as fugu, or pufferfish. A single drop of fugu poison can kill an adult. Chefs have to undergo special training to learn how to prepare it. Apparently that makes it a delicacy, not that I'd ever tried it, seeing as how a single plate runs upwards of $250. Kyori Matsumoto slipped the first sliver between her glistening red lips while I turned my attention to the puzzle box I'd smashed. Among the debris lay a fluffy, white rabbit's foot. The farmer had a neighbor, said Kyori Matsumoto, picking up her parable, a crafty rabbit who swore to avenge the wife's death. He befriended the tanuki and invited him one day to harvest grass for the winter. On the way back home, the rabbit set the tanuki's bundle of grass on fire, and when the tanuki asked what the crackling sound was, the rabbit said they were walking on Crackling Mountain. When the flames burned the tanuki's back and he was in terrible pain, the crafty rabbit helpfully applied a lotion made of chili powder. The next week, the rabbit invited the wounded tanuki to go fishing. He built a wooden boat for himself and a clay boat for the tanuki. Naturally, it wasn't long before the clay boat began to sink into the lake, and when the tanuki called out to his friend for help, the rabbit only laughed and said, "Now the farmer's wife is avenged." The rabbit then hit the tanuki with his oar, and both the tanuki and the clay boat sank into the lake forever. The farmer was so grateful that he invited the rabbit to live with him, and they became firm friends. And remember, all of that story, that's a real folklore from Japan. We've just, we edited it, shortened it, and, put it through the lips of our antagonist. My God, I thought. I'd wanted her to do all the talking, but if this Yakuza captain kept speaking in parables, at least Sabrina would just call me a bastard and be done with it. Sabrina being the ex-wife, right? Just for everyone who's not familiar with the story so far. Tell me why I'm here, I said plainly. Kyori Matsumoto finished her fugu and placed her cutlery neatly on her empty plate. I have enough tanukis on my farm, Mr. Sharp, she said. What I need is a rabbit. So again, all that subtext, instead of just saying, I have a job for you, this Yakuza captain has gone through all of this, all of this backstory, all of this folktale, basically just to say, I want to hire you. But that tells us about her character, that informs us. Now, previously we had this as the finish of chapter 1. We're now going to extend it, right? We are now going to extend this. This is what we said on Friday. This is why chapter 2 didn't quite work. So let's now bring in a little bit of the the plot, right? So here we go. We are gonna come in here and come in here. Now, essentially what we've done is we've had this scene is in a restaurant. We've had the soup, the appetizer. We've had the main course, which is the fugu, the puffer fish. So what we need now is dessert, okay? And here's what I found. And my gosh, is this interesting or what? I have to go to Japan at some point because some of this stuff looks amazing. Here's some of the research that I was doing. I want to show you guys because then we're going to turn this into subtextually juicy dialogue, right? So let's talk about grapes. Ruby Robin grapes. Look at the price tag. $4,000 a bunch for grapes. Are we being serious here, guys? $4,000. What? $4,000. Thank you, Neo the Heathen. Says the story is pretty intriguing. I don't know much about the story either. This is a total. We're writing this from scratch and we're figuring out as we go along. So your guesses as to where the plot should go are as good as anyone else's, including my own. So yeah, I did this research. I wanted to find some, interesting Japanese foods. What do they have for dessert? And these Ruby Robin grapes are huge, right? The size of ping pong balls. They're grown only in one place in Japan called Ishikawa, which is a really fun word to say. Say that a few times. Ishikawa. Lovely. Right? And we're talking about these, premium class grapes, this premium fruit for about $4,000 a bunch. Each grape, costs $110. Okay. Now, what's so good about this is it instantly informs us about the character that we're dealing with. This 18th captain of the Yakuza, she has money to burn, right? She's a Japanese mob boss, right? The Yakuza is the Japanese mob. So think Godfather, think the Italian mafia, just shove it over into Japan. They have money, they have power, and and this one loves to eat, right? So these are the types of things. So I also went and did a little bit more research onto these grapes. And the reason why you want to do this, it seems weird, like what does this have to do with a thriller? In actual fact, it has nothing to do with a thriller, but we're talking about dialogue, right? We are talking about how to write better dialogue. And as we've said over the past few videos, every editor that I've ever had has told me you cannot use exposition when you are doing dialogue. It doesn't work. If a character says, I have a job for you, that's like one of the worst ways you can say that line, okay? Try and do it a little bit more subtly. Try and use the subtext. So as we did in this, in our book, we said, what I need is a rabbit. And that tells us, that delivers the same information. The reader just has to work it out and has to read between the lines, which is one of the things that makes a good book stand out from one that is not so well written, perhaps. Or at least that's the opinion of most of the editors that I've ever worked with. So I hope this is making sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put all this information up on my other screen, and then I'm going to show you guys how I turn this into dialogue, right? So all this factual information we are going to make use of. All right, and this is an easy way to write dialogue. So, it's great. You do a little bit of research, and the rewards are fantastic. Okay, so let's bring the mouse back, and we're going to maximize this. I hope you guys can see the page and all the words clearly. Let me zoom in just a little bit more. Here we go. So so she says, "What I need is a rabbit." So our guy, it's his turn. It's his turn to speak or not speak, or just basically react to that line. So. And how about what I need? Remember, our guy, he's a straight arrow. He's a straight speaker. He doesn't go in for this, parable nonsense. And that was another thing we talked about. If you've got one character who's very loquacious and loves words, you need the other character who they're speaking to ideally be someone who doesn't like words very much. He's going to be more short and terse, because it's the opposites that bring the characters to life. Each one will heighten the other. So, okay, and how about what I need? I said, and then keeping this parable in the forefront of our minds. I never knew a farmer. So it's something like this. I never knew a farmer that could grow that. Okay, so she's saying, I need a rabbit. I'm the farmer and I need a rabbit. That's what she's saying. He's saying, yeah, okay, great. But what about what I need? If I'm the rabbit, what do I get out of this? Right? I never knew a farmer that could grow that. Or maybe who could grow that. Right? Again, you don't want to repeat the same word. It just doesn't read as well. Okay. So let's bring that waiter back that we had who's been serving all the fish, and let's have him bring the ruby red grapes into the scene. So the way I see this is that she's gonna bring these huge grapes into the scene, and she's gonna answer his question about what about what I need, which is this huge thing. We don't really know what it is yet. We just alluded to it in the first chapter, but obviously our guy is in Japan. The only reason he's taken this meeting is because the message he received said, I know why you're here, Mr. Sharp, and I know what you're looking for. Come and meet me at this restaurant, right? And then he comes over here. Now he's saying, how do I know you can give me what I need? If I help you, are you going to be able to give me what I want? So the way I see it is, again, using subtext. She's going to bring in these ruby red grapes, these huge, expensive, really rare grapes. She's going to, eat it simply. And then she's going to be like, we've got everything. I've got everything you could possibly want here. The abundance is here. There'll be a good line for that. Something like, the soil is rich in Shinjuku, right? Something like that. She's going to keep using this parable, but that's going to be the line. And then we're going to develop then we're really going to get down to the nitty gritty of what she actually wants him to do, which is, as we said on Friday, we think it's probably going to be, I need you to go and kill my sister, basically, who's another Yakuza captain. And now we have this mob story taking shape. Hope that's making sense, guys, especially to anyone who's just tuning in today. I'm trying to explain everything. But again, it's best if you, I definitely would check out, the first day, chapter 1, page 1. That will really set up everything very clearly for those who haven't. Okay, so let's get this back going. So the waiter came and removed our plates. I don't think our guy even touched the fugu, the pufferfish, but whatever. Again, we can get that back. We can get that in the second edit if we've missed anything. So let's say he replaced. So he removed our plates, then he replaced them with a basket of these grapes. So let's make it a black basket. Just want to get the imagery, nice. With a black basket of. So those grapes are huge. They said, I think, so the article says here they look like ping pong balls, right? I don't like ping pong balls. I think from our guy's perspective, he's from London. He's an English guy. I think he's going to say with a black basket of what I thought were plums. Okay? So imagine the size of a plum, and instead it's not a plum, it's a grape, right? It's something like that. Okay. Remember, we're telling everything. If you're going to describe something, describe it through the eyes of your character. Don't just say he replaced them with a black basket of what appeared to be plums. Of what looked like plums or actually those are pretty good. If you say, but we want to get rid of those to be verbs. So don't just say he replaced them with a black basket of plums, right? Or of what were plums, something like that, right? Always do everything through the eyes of your character. So what I thought were plums. Okay, now Kyori Matsumoto, she's going to say, these are my favorites. And said Kyori, so we don't get confused. It's not the waiter that's saying that. Okay, so these are my favorites. Okay, now let's put in that research. So I'm just basically going to type what I see from the screen and then just sort of... Okay, so to make the grade, so each of these grapes, listen to this, each of these grapes must be over 20 grams and at least 18% sugar. So let's just use that. Each of these, she's just making the point, and this is, she's making the point that these things are super expensive, super rare, and she has an abundance of riches with which to pay our protagonist. Okay, but she's doing it in a very roundabout way. Which is what we're trying to achieve with good dialogue. That's what good dialogue is. Each one to make the grade. Each one must be over. Okay, let's just write this down. 20 grams and at least 18% sugar. I guess that's quite a high percentage of sugar for a fruit or a grape. I don't know, but that's what it says in this article, so we will use it. Okay, and then there's a premium class of grapes. So obviously she's going to have the premium class in front of her. The premium class, such as these, will require each grape to be over 30 grams. The other good thing about using this kind of research and dialogue is in itself, it's interesting, right? People are going to be able to go away and say, in a 3 days time, I was reading this book, these grapes in Japan, blah 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 blah, right? It's just generally interesting stuff anyway. At least I think so. What are your guys' views on fruit? Fruit. How interesting. Lots of different types of fruit. All right. So what we're saying. Right, the grapes need to be over 30 grams, and the entire first bunch. I can't believe that one grape sells for $110, but amazing. 30 must weigh, first bunch must weigh at least 700 grams. Wow, it is heavy. Okay. Okay, so to make the grade, each one must be over 20 grams and at least 18% sugar. Right, and that's only the regular class. What's going on here? Right, the regular class. Okay, does that, so we have some, we're building this up. Must weigh at least 700. Right, so the premium class such as these require each grape. So remember, our guy thought it was plums, and now she said, you know, actually these are grapes. She's just dropped it in. And then, so our guy's going to be, you know, grapes. I said, you know, astonished. Jody, that's tomato. Okay, so now she picks up one of these grapes, and I see the image in my mind of her just going, we've already referenced her, you know, her really luscious lips before. So I see her, you know, biting into one of these grapes. You see the lips just sort of, you know, caressing the grape before she then pierces it with her teeth. There's something very sensual about that. And again, building in that sexual tension is only going to make the scene better. So wherever possible, get that conflict going, and let's use that. So she picked one up. Okay, and our guy, you know, he has a problem with women, and he's trying to keep his cool in this situation, but you know, he's going to be a bit like, duh, when she, you know, takes the takes a bite of this grape. That's the image that I have in my mind. So let's, and I stared silently as her red lips softly caressed. I don't know if caressed is the right word. The hard round ball. A split second before. There's something nice about this, like the soft, the gentle touch, and then the bite, right? Because that kind of that's kind of what might happen to him, right? She's 18th captain of the Yakuza, very dangerous woman. She's giving him the soft touch, you know. She's saying, "Come and eat with me." She's being nice to him, but behind that is the bite, right? She's got power. This one. Does that make sense, guys? Maybe I'm reading too much into my own writing. Split second before her teeth pierced it. I like that word. Pierced its flesh. All right. It's a fun sentence to say, actually. Okay, and as if to answer his question of basically, can you pay me what I want? She's gonna be like, yeah, the soil is rich in Japan. Okay, the soil is rich in Japan. Something like that. And then our guy, okay, and then bringing in that little bit of humor that we've been building with our main guy. It's not really humor. It's just those sort of wry observations. Yeah, I thought. I'm thinking something about compost here, right? She's saying the soil is rich, and you know he's just been. A gun has been pointed at his head by the bodyguard just moments ago, and this is obviously the Japanese mob. So obviously they put hits out on people, they kill people. So their compost, their fertilizer is dead bodies. You know, there's a line there for that for sure. Yeah, I thought so. Maybe he glancing back at the bodyguard who'd pulled a gun at me, a gun on me, right? It's a gun. Yeah, he pulled a gun on me. Yeah, I thought, but what's in the compost? Something like that. Okay, let's just put this in. Let's see if we can refine this, make this better. Okay, so I think maybe... so according to the research, these grapes are actually produced in a region of Japan that is not Tokyo. They actually come from Ishikawa, which is on the coast, which is a port there. So... And okay, maybe what we need to do is say... So we have this... again, we want to talk about the Japanese mob, and we want to... just say that the Yakuza, they are powerful. They take over whatever they want to take over. If you've got a business, they'll come in and essentially just say, right, you're out, we're in. Thank you very much for setting this up for us. These are powerful, dark people. So what I'm thinking is, these grapes, according to the research, they were made in 2006, and they're made in Ishikawa. So maybe, yeah, okay, that's it. That's what it is. So she says basically, these grapes are made in Ishikawa. I just want to get down this point, and then we'll turn it into dialogue. These grapes made in Ishikawa, right? They sell for such and such and such. But here in Shinjuku, the 18th captain of the Yakuza, has she's got her own farmers. She's got a warehouse. They do all the farming now, in warehouses, in greenhouses now. She's saying, but I have my own people making, these grapes, and of a far higher quality. And then she says, Shinjuku, the soil is rich in Shinjuku, right? So what she's saying is, I am the most powerful of the Yakuza captains. So, you should listen to me, right? You should believe me that I can pay you. Okay, so I kind of get this. So, okay, these are my favorites, said Curie. What I thought were plums, right? What are they called? Ruby Roman, right? Ruby Romans. It's a cool... I wonder why they're called Ruby Romans. I mean, obviously they're ruby in color, said Corey. Ruby Romans are made in the region of Ishikawa. $700 grams. Premium class such as these require each grape to be over 30 grams, and the entire first bunch must weigh at least 700 grams. So maybe there's a bunch of these grapes from Ishikawa in the basket, and then a bunch of her own grapes right next to it, and her grapes are even bigger, right? They're even bigger. So he placed them with a black basket of what I thought were plums. Ruby Romans. These are my favorites, said Curie. Ruby Romans. Made in the region. Okay, whatever. And then she says the soil is rich in Shinjuku. We'll go back to that. Okay, he pulled the gun on me. But what's in the compost? And now... we need to really we need to tell the plot. So here we go. We're just gonna explain now what the plot is going to be. How do I get a page break in here? I'm using Pages on Mac, by the way. So a few people have asked, what do I use? I use Pages on Mac, but I'm forgetting how to use it already. Okay, page break. There we go. So. When we started Chapter 2, we had them in the back of a town car, but I think we're going to stay in the restaurant, and we're going to just bring all that stuff back up here. Okay, we're going to keep them in the restaurant, and then Chapter 2 will be him going out on essentially what is his first mission for the Yakuza. Okay, so let's just read this last bit, right? So Kyori Matsumoto, she finished the fugu, placed the cutlery neatly on an empty plate. I have enough tanukis on my farm, Mr. Sharp, she said. What I need is a rabbit, i.e., I've got a job for you. And how about what I need? I said I never knew a farmer who could grow that. Never knew a farmer who could grow that. Right, he's saying, can you pay me what I want? The waiter came and removed our plates. He replaced them with a black basket of what I thought were plums. She gave a signal to the kitchen, and the waiter came and removed our plates. Maybe we can just make this a little bit more. The waiter came and removed our plates, replacing them with a black basket of what I thought were plums. These are my favorites, said Kyori, fingering fingering the fruit, the plump fruit. Again, this paragraph seems to be a bit more. This sort of whole thing here is a little bit more sensual in the grand scheme of things. So you can just play about with this. These are my favorites, said Kyori, fingering the plump fruit. Ruby Romans. They come from a region. Or maybe she just says, have you ever been to Ishikawa? I don't know. Maybe right. To make the grade, each one must be over 20 grams, at least 80% sugar, and that's only the regular class. The premium class, such as these, require each grape to be over 30 grams, and the entire first bunch must weigh at least 700 grams. Grapes? I said, astonished. Remember, he thought they were plums. Kyori Matsumoto picked up grapes. I said, Kyori Matsumoto picked one up, and I stared silently as her red lips softly caressed the hard round ball a split second before her teeth pierced its flesh. The soil is rich in Shinjuku. Soil is rich in Shinjuku. Yeah, I thought, glancing back at the bodyguard who pulled a gun on me. But what's in the compost? I'm not sure on that, but what's in the compost? It's something like that. Okay, so what does... Right, so all we need to do is clarify this thing. So we know what Kyori Matsumoto wants. She wants all of this stuff that we said here. So let's just bring this up. Here. And let's bring this up here and see how we can just connect the two. Well, what's in the compost? Okay, so we had it before. After dinner, the 18th captain of the Yakuza invited me into a town car. Whilst the bodyguard drove us around Tokyo, she told me all about her twin sister, the 7th captain of the Yakuza, whom she wanted me to kill. Mizuki was always the black sheep of the family, said Kyori, always jealous of my relationship with our father. I don't suppose you know what I'm talking about, do you, Mr. Sharp? I don't have a sister, no. And how do a couple of 20-somethings become Yakuza captains anyway? Alright, so my story is simple, she said, glancing out the window. My father died tragically. I ascended to captain in his place. And we said that the subtext here was that, yeah, that Kyori Matsumoto potentially killed her father, and then her twin sister Mizuki is basically out for revenge. She's worked her way up to being another one of the Yakuza captains. There's a whole background and backstory there, which needs to be fleshed out, but essentially we had our character motivations worked out on Friday, so do see that video. That's day 10 for more information on what we did about that. So we don't need this bit because... Okay. Right, so it seems to me as though we need to know what this guy is at. Oh, right, what this guy's at, right. But what's in the compost? How did you know I was in Japan. So there are a couple of things that we if we go back to chapter 1 that we didn't answer, and two of the main ones were: why is Mr. Sharp in Japan in the first place? What is he looking for? And how did Kyori Matsumoto even find him? Because, as we said on page 1, when he receives the package, right? I didn't know anyone in Japan, nor had I told anyone that I was coming here. So who could be sending me a package, right? So we need to begin to answer these questions. We could just leave it totally in mystery and only answer it at the end of the story, which is essentially what suspense is. And that's not the worst idea, but I think we do need to at least allude to it here. The problem being, of course, that when you're making up a story on the spot or as you go, you don't necessarily know what these things are going to be, and I don't know what these things are going to be. So, but it's still, he's a straight talker, and he wants to know these questions. How did you know I was in Japan? Let's just write some bad dialogue, and then let's try and refine it. I know everything that goes on in my ward. Remember, Japan is split up into 23 different wards, as we learned from the research, one of which is Shinjuku, which is where this Yakuza captain is from. I know everything that goes on in my ward. All right. If you, how did you know I was in Japan? I know everything that goes on in my ward. So maybe actually, I'm just thinking if there's an extra line here where she says, so are you going to take the job or not? And he's like, just a minute. I want to figure out what's going on here. So yeah, I thought glancing back at the bodyguard put a gun on me, but what's in the compass? How did you know I was in Japan? I asked. I know everything that goes on in my ward. And if, like the rabbit, you wish to become firm friends, this is probably overstating the point. I know everything that goes on in my ward, Hashem. I know everything that goes on in my ward. And if, like the rabbit, you wish to become firm friends, I shall show you all the riches. I have to, something like that. I think this is, overstating the point a little bit, but whatever. Something like that. Okay. Right. So what's the other thing that he wants to know? Is right. So what's he looking for? So let's say. Okay. Let's keep it a little bit cryptic. Nobody has found. Nobody has found it before. Well, let's give it a name. So what's this mysterious object that he's looking for? Maybe he's sort of a kind of an Indiana Jones character. He's looking for some kind of relic, and he's traced it all the way to Japan. And what it is nobody has found the I don't know why arcane is in my head. The arcane. Whatever, the arcane painting. Okay, hold on a sec. So maybe if you have what I want, why would you give it to me? Again, it's got to be something a little bit fresher than that. What do you think, guys? What is this guy after? Give me an idea. Give me something that this guy, that our protagonist might want. I think it's got to be something slightly mystical, slightly magical, definitely something weird. And it's got to be enough to carry this story, at least carry his motivation. So it could be. She picked one up. Right, she smiled at me as she swallowed. The soil is rich in Shinjuku. Yeah, I thought, glancing back at the bodyguard, to put a gun on me, but what's in the compost? How did you know I was in Japan? I asked. I know everything that goes on in my ward. I shall show you just how much. That is. Right, there's a lot of stuff going on in Shinjuku. Again, she's just reinforcing that offer. That's slightly better. If you okay, put it this way. Let's do it like this. If you have what I want, I'll do the job. Okay, again, bad dialogue, but we'll make it better once we figure out the nitty gritty. Okay, if you have it on, I'll do the job. Wonderful. All right, wonderful. She said, and then proceeded to tell me. Okay, that's what it needs to be. And so, the 18th, here it is, captain of the Yakuza, served me tea. And told me. So this, for everyone who is just joining in today, this is a really useful tip, and one that will save you plenty of pain in editing, especially when you get an editor who's just going to say, right, you can cross all this out. This line here. So the 18th captain of the Yakuza served me tea and told me all about her twin sister, the 7th captain of the Yakuza, whom she wanted me to kill. That line is so important for two reasons. Number one, you've described the conversation in a very succinct manner, right? Instead of having the characters just, have this sort of back and forth of oh, my twin sister, I have a twin sister. She is the 17th captain of the Yakuza, right? Instead of doing that, do you know, Mr. Sharp, I have a twin sister? And then our guy says, oh, do you? Yes, she's the 17th captain of the Yakuza. Oh, is that true? Oh, is that so? And then she blah, 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 blah. Instead of doing all that rubbish, which any editor is just going to cross straight through, just describe the essential part of the conversation. Just tell us what that is in a very succinct way, and then plug in the details. The details are the important thing. The details are the interesting thing of any conversation. So first give an overview of the conversation, and then zoom into the part that is critical to your story, and you will just be in a much better place. There's less waffle. There's less dead dialogue. Right. Okay. Wonderful, she said, and so the 18th captain of the Yakuza served me tea and told me all about a twin sister, the 7th captain of the Yakuza, whom she wanted me to kill. Mizuki was always the black sheep of the family, said Curie, always jealous of my relationship with our father. I don't suppose you know what I'm talking about, do you, Mr. Sharp? I don't have a sister, no. That sounds, that's just, sort of a throwaway line, but it sort of implies there's something more going on. But I don't suppose you know what I'm talking about, do you, Mr. Sharp? So obviously, Kyori Matsumoto, she knows something about our protagonist. And there's some meaning behind that line. I don't know what that meaning is, but it sounds good. And we can figure it out later. All right. But I don't suppose you know what I'm talking about, do you, Mr. Sharp? I don't have a sister. No. And how do a couple of 20-somethings become Yakuza captains anyway? Fair question. My story is simple, she said. Sipping her tea. My father died tragically. I ascended to captain in his place. Okay. So the teacup is sort of just covering her face a little bit, and I think, like we said on Friday, if she has killed her father, if that's what the subtext of this is, then obviously that information, no matter how good her poker face is, that's going to leak out. Okay, so she takes the sip of tea, and she's doing that not because she's thirsty, but she's doing that because she knows she doesn't want to give away the game. So she brings the tea up, right? She's like, my story is simple, she said, and she's sipping the tea. My father died tragically, and I ascended to captain in his place. So our guy Sharp, Mr. Sharp, Oliver Sharp, love that name. He just senses there is a little bit more to that story, and so he's going to tell us that, right? So it's these little tiny micro expressions that he's picking up on. He's not a fighter. We've already said that. We don't want to make this a Mitch Rapp, a Jack Reacher type of character. Our guy's going to be, a little bit more slim. He's going to be a sharp. He's going to be a cerebral kind of protagonist. Quick wit, and he's going to run more than he's going to fist fight. Right? He's just going to use his brain to get out of things. So let's put that in. She said, sipping a tea. My father died tragically. I ascended to captain in his place. I could have been wrong, but sure I saw her smiling behind that teacup. Something like that. Okay. Again, the reader has to sort of build up the reader has to do the work. I'm not going to explicitly say, oh, Kyori killed her father. I'm just going to say, work it out. There's something in there. There's something in there that if you can work it out now, it's going to pay off later. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing there. So my story is simple. She said, sipping her tea. My father died tragically. I ascended to captain in his place. I could have been wrong, but I was pretty sure. Sounds better. Pretty sure I saw her smiling behind that teacup. Tragically, I thought. Naturally, this never sat well with Mizuki. Great. Being the firstborn. Yeah. Okay. So, being the firstborn, she believed it was her birthright. But I showed aptitudes more conducive to leadership. Now it seems there seems to be it's missing a line here. But I showed aptitudes more conducive to leadership. Now it seems Mizuki has managed to convince our superiors of the same. 10 months ago, she ascended to captain of the Koto Ward. That's another one of those Japanese wards. There are 23 of the wards in Tokyo. Koto Ward, we did the research. Now she's coming. Now she seeks revenge again. This is Kuri Matsumoto talking. She doesn't say she's coming after my business. She says, now she seeks revenge. Right? You've got to remember what your characters sound like. And this Kuri Matsumoto, she's something else. She never speaks plainly. She's always, making it more and more elaborate. She likes to do that, very loquacious. Okay, so actually, technically, we've written the page that we were supposed to write today, so I could stop here. let's just read it and just make sure it is coming out better. And guys, let's have some comments from the chat. How are we doing here? Is this making sense? Is this coming together? So let's go from here, right? He's like, tell me why I'm here. I said plainly. Kyorin Matsumoto finished her fugu, that's the pufferfish, and placed her cutlery neatly on an empty plate. I have enough tanukis on my farm, Mr. Sharp, she said. What I need is a rabbit. And how about what I need? I said. I never knew a farmer who could grow that. She gave a signal to the kitchen, and the waiter came and removed our plates, replacing them with a black basket of what I thought were plums. These are my favourite, said Kyori, fingering the plump fruit. Ruby Romans are made in the region of Ishikawa. To make the grade, each one must be over 20 grams and at least 18% sugar. And that's only the regular class. The premium class, such as these, require each grape to be over 30 grams, and the entire first bunch must weigh at least 700. Maybe you don't need grams again, that's obvious. Grapes, I said, astonished. Kyori Matsumoto picked one up, and I stared silently as her red lips softly caressed the hard round ball, a split second before her teeth pierced its flesh. She smiled at me as she swallowed. She swallowed. Yeah, okay. The soil is rich in Shinjuku, meaning I can pay you. Don't worry about that. Yeah, I thought, glancing back at the bodyguard who'd pulled a gun on me, but what's in the compost? Something there, he's just saying, right, okay, I believe that this person can pay me because obviously she's a Yakuza captain, she's rich, she has many resources, but am I really going to trust her? How did you know I was in Japan? I asked. I know everything that goes on in my ward. And if, like the rabbit, you wish to become firm friends, I shall show you just how much that truly is. It's not the best line of dialogue here, but it's something. Okay. Okay. Like I said, I'm just hearkening back. This won't make sense to the guys just joining the stream, but okay, let me just go back to page number 1, where we said, needless to say, I shouldn't have taken it. That was this mysterious package, but I've never been one to make good decisions. Okay, we said this is one of our characters' his needs, right? Characters have wants and needs, and they need to, and the internal need of the character, which in this case is to learn to make better decisions, that is your character arc. So we put that right at the beginning because it's such an important thing. He has a problem with women, and he makes bad decisions. One of the bad decisions being that he hates women. Not a good decision, guys. So I'm just hearkening back to that, right? I just want to bring that back because, well, it just sounds better. So, and I don't have to do it in dialogue. Basically, if you can delete a line of dialogue, delete it. Right, so I think I'm going to do that. Well, like I said, I've never been one to make good decisions. Okay, let's make that a little bit better. Okay, but like I said, so it's something like I show you just how much that truly is. I should have run straight out of there. He said this before. I'm just going to straight out of there. But like I said, I've never been one to make good decisions. Okay, I said. There could be a bit more here, but basically that's the idea. He sort of just goes back and forth in his head, and then he says eventually, okay, wonderful. He said, wonderful, she said. And so the 18th captain of the Yakuza served me tea. And so the 18th served me tea and told me all about. And so the 18th captain of the Yakuza, she didn't serve him tea. She has the waiter obviously serve him tea. The 18th captain of the Yakuza doesn't lift a finger. So wonderful, she said. And so the 18th captain of the Yakuza, whatever. I have to come back. Can't really think of that bit now. A better way of saying that. Served me tea and told me all about her twin sister, the 7th captain of the Yakuza, whom she wanted me to kill. And now we finally have the plot of this novel. This guy is going to have to go out, work for one of the Yakuza captains, essentially against the other. Right? Mizuki was always the black sheep of the family, said Kyori. Always jealous of my relationship with our father, but I don't suppose you know what I'm talking about. You'd know. You would know, yeah. You know what I'm talking about, do you, Mr. Sharp? I don't have a sister, no. And how do a couple of 20-somethings become Yakuza captains anyway? My story is simple, she said, sipping her tea. My father died tragically. I ascended to captain in his place. I wonder if this is actually... Yeah, okay, fine. I could have been wrong, but I was pretty sure I saw her smiling behind that teacup. Tragically, I thought. Naturally, this never sat well with Mizuki, continued Kyori. Being the firstborn, she believed it was her birthright, but I showed attitudes more conducive to leadership. Now it seems Mizuki has managed to convince our superiors of the same. Of her worth. 10 months ago, she ascended to captain of the Koto Ward. Now she seeks revenge. There are too many nows, right? Now it seems Mizuki has managed to convince our superiors of her worth, and 10 months ago, she ascended to captain of the Koto Ward. So this is a sibling squabble. He's playing it down. He's like, really? This is what this is about? Just a squabble between sisters? And that is not going to sit well with Kyori. Again, this is bad dialogue, but I just want to get the idea on paper, and then I'm going to go away and think about this and turn this into some better dialogue tomorrow. Be careful, Mr. Sharp. Mizuki is not one to be trifled with. Whatever, and nor am I. Horrible dialogue. I think a funny bit might be this Kyori Matsumoto, she begins to tell him another parable. You know, she's like, have you ever heard the story of the two sisters, who were in some sort of argument, and he's like, no. I'm not having another parable, right? Get on with it, all right? What do I have to do? I think probably that's something like that. Okay, so we don't need this. Okay, and then whatever she explains, let's just put this in what we need to do tomorrow, and then we'll come back tomorrow and get the whole thing done. So Kyori explains how Sharp should go about attacking what's her name? Mizuki's territory, and sketches out a plan. Okay, that's what's going to happen in the next little bit. Sketches out a plan, and then we're going to end chapter 1 there. Okay, that makes sense, I think. Mizuki's territory sketches out a plan. Also, the fact that if Sharp is going to go into Mizuki's territory, which is not Shinjuku, remember they're different wards. We said Mizuki is in the Koto ward, was it? Yeah, the Koto ward, right? So obviously Sharp is going to go into the Koto ward, and Kyori Matsumoto is not going to be able to protect him, right? So she's saying, you know, essentially, if you get caught there, caught in Koto, there is nothing I can do for you. And that's the very James Bond, Mission Impossible, you know, you are a totally deniable asset. If you get caught, I will deny knowing you, I will deny anything. Because obviously, and again, we explained this on Friday, but let's just recall it. If you've got organized crime, you know, whether it is the mafia or in this case the Japanese mob, they do not allow war in general. They do not allow war between different families because it's bad for business all around. So obviously our 18th captain of the Yakuza, she's going to be like, I'm hiring you on the basis that you're going to be a ghost, right? Obviously, I can't go out and attack my sister and retaliate against her. You're going to be my guy. And then we said he's going to go along and do this, and it's all going to go swimmingly well. And eventually, he's going to be dining with this Mizuki Matsumoto, and that's when he's going to get essentially cooked, right? He's going to be like, she's going to say to him, yeah, I know what you're doing here. You're not fooling me. I know my sister sent you. And she serves him, you know, the cooked rabbit. And that's just going to be a wonderful scene. In the future, that's the midpoint of the novel, which is great that we already have that. Because, again, anyone who is using or is familiar with the Save the Cat writes a novel process. Not that we're using that process specifically here, but it is a good structure to have in mind. That's the midpoint. You know, when he goes to the sister, everything looks like it's going well, and we have this false defeat, essentially. So okay, pretty good today. We got to use the research that was done for those grapes. We have extended this scene. It feels like the scene is just about full, and chapter 1 has done its job of introducing our character and introducing the antagonist, introducing the plot as a whole. Anyone picking up this novel is thinking, okay, this is going to be a little bit of a thriller, a little bit more of a psychological thriller rather than an action thriller. So we've established the main, the genre and what to expect from this. We've included the promise with that great first line that we came up with. I really do think this is a good line. Let's read it again just because I love it. You know, I'm going to tell you a story which you'll believe, and then I'll tell you the truth, which you won't, right? So this whole thing is just the beginning of what is going to be an even bigger plot, an even bigger twist and turn, which we have no idea about. You know, I have no idea what that's going to be, but it's got to be something big, and we've made that promise, and it's exciting, right? It's exciting. I hope you guys agree. Any thoughts and comments, please do keep them coming in, because they are always appreciated and always useful. Again, I think Friday was probably the best day for that. It's great to see it when it all comes together, and you know, everyone helps out each other. So yeah, that's good enough for today. Please do tune in again tomorrow. I am playing around with the times because I know people prefer these streams to be at different times, what suits them. So guys, if you have any questions, comments, ideas, thoughts, whether it's with my writing or your own writing that you want help with, please do tune in, send them in, and let's start this conversation. So I'll see you all tomorrow, presumably at the same time of 7 o'clock GMT. Figure out what that time is for you, where I will continue to write before your eyes.